Hey everybody, Chris Parry here from EQUITY.GURU. How you doing? Today's 3-minute hit is about a company called West High Yield Resources. WHY is the ticker symbol on the CSE. Look, the TSXV. We haven't talked about these guys for a little while. We talked about them back in December, and stock went kind of parabolic for a little bit there. Went from 23 cents or so, shot right up to 43, nearly 50. Look, it was a great result for a company that hadn't really talked about itself for quite some time. If I go back 5 years on their stock chart, it's almost a flat line, a couple of ripples here and there. But if you go back to the max, you're going back, you're going back about 15 years. And this company has, over the long haul, just been like that. So when we talked about them and said, listen, the rubber's about to hit the road, this deal is about to get really interesting, people got on board. Why is that? A couple of reasons. Number one, hey, a company that's been essentially dormant stock price wise for some time, suddenly getting into the game and doing the work that's been building for quite some time, that's a train leaving the station minute. And so for a lot of people out there, that's the moment you want to get on. You don't want to get on months before, you want to get on right as the news is about to pop. Well, since then, there's been a couple of months where they're waiting for a mine permit at their project at the Record Ridge Magnesium deposit, which is 10k southwest of Rossland, British Columbia, smack dab in the suburbs, to be honest. So these guys, they're planning to get their mining permit out there. They've submitted all their material information, the engineering designs, corresponding reports, everything requested by the BC Ministry of Mines, and they're waiting any minute now for that permit to come forth. In the meantime, the company has been out there doing a little bit of prep. They've put out an RFP for mining services to get roads built. They're expecting to have those RFPs in by, I think, within the next month or two, and then start really, the moment those permits land, start going in there and trying to see if they can get at that magnesium. In the meantime, the Midnight Gold drilling program of last year yielded positive results in multiple intervals and zones, but, big but, the weather turned crap on them. Got there a little bit early, killed the season off, and rather than actually get in there and do some core cutting and logging and assaying, basically the site became inaccessible, so they had to shut it down. And now they're getting back out there, the ground's getting hard again, and they're able to go out there and continue the last bits of that drilling program. What does this mean for you as an investor? Well, if you've been looking at the share price, the quiet period over the last few months has seen a bit of a fall away from the 40s to the 30s, and even just today into 29 territory, 3 cents down from where it had been the other day. That's expectable. There are people who bought in expecting that work was being done and that it was going to drop any second now. The weather kind of screwed that up. The permits have dragged on a little bit, so you get that sell-off a little bit from weak hands. But the guys behind this might have never sold a damn share, and they are calling me up and saying the rubber is hitting the road. Well, if you check their news releases this morning, you'll see their latest corporate update that acknowledges that there's been a bit of a drag, but now the wheels are turning, things are moving, they're expecting that permit, they're finishing off the drill program results from last year. There will be news flow, whether it's tomorrow or next week or a month down the line, I can't tell you, but what I can tell you is the work is being done, the train is moving. So for those that thought magnesium, hey, I'd like to be in that game, that seems like a good sector to be in, and having a mine essentially in suburban BC, that's not a terrible thing either, especially when it comes to transport costs, services, etc. So where are we at? For me, you're at a place where if this thing goes below 29 cents, if it goes to 28, 27, 26, you know, people are giving you just the stock for cheap, that's a gift. And I think that if we fast forward a month or two, when these pieces all start falling together, and it's not really a question of if, it's a question of when. Are they going to get their mining permits? Yes, they are. Might there be delays? Might there be extra things they have to submit? Sure, there always could be, but it's a process, right? It's not like going to the FDA and saying, hey, can you approve this drug? It's a case of going back to the mining permit people with your information again and again if need be until you've completed the checklist. So I assume, having had all this time to do this over the winter months, that West High Yield's in a good spot to get those permits. I assume, having done drilling last year, that you're now going to get results from, now's the time to be in the game. For me, WHY, good little deal, only a $24 million market cap, and they really want to move this thing forward. Like, this is the time. These guys have been in this project for a decade plus. They ain't going anywhere. They are building this thing come hook or crook. And having talked to them several times over the past few months, I can attest that they are desperately trying to get things out the door so that they can get to that place of production. Look, there are guys that will sit on a property forever and never risk having a bad news story by sticking a hole in it. There are guys who are never going to put a drill hole in their property unless one happens to fall out of a low-flying plane. These guys have done the drilling. They've shown their work. Now they've just got to get the results. Now if they get the permits, they can start really digging in there. I like what they're doing. I like what they're building. It's still a small deal. There's still plenty of value. And the news stories that have come over the last few months have shown that when there is positive news, there's low enough volume that the story really pops. A 23 cent to 43 cent move early on, that's interesting. If you can get any sort of momentum and really show that the work is being done and that milestones are being hit, this thing is wound tightly enough that I could really see it springing. As always, we're conflicted. They're a client company. We've bought a little stock ourselves. We'd love it to go up. But in your case, we don't know what your financial situation is. So go talk to a financial advisor, figure out your risk profile, figure out what they think of this opportunity. And if, like us, they see there's a lot of there. WHY, West High Yield, let's go. And by the way, subscribe to the channel so you get a lot more information like this and hopefully a few dingers.